take your cell phones and personal devices and put them on vibrate or silent, please. That would be greatly appreciated. So with that, we'll call the October 8th, 2024 Alpena County Board of Commissioners Finance, Ways and Means Committee meeting to order at 9:30 in the morning. First item on our agenda, of course, is to conduct roll call. So if you would, please, clerk.
Commissioner LaHaye.
Here.
Commissioner Ludlow.
Here.
Commissioner Bray. Here. Commissioner Peterson.
Here.
Commissioner Fournier. Here. Commissioner Konashevsky.
Here.
Commissioner Kozlowski.
Here.
Commissioner Francisco.
Here. If you'd all please rise and join me with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So before I ask for a motion and support and vote to adopt the agenda, there are a couple of pending changes to it. On the agenda that has been provided, we will add the 2025 Budget Committee discussion. We will add that after item 5 and before the motion to rise and report. Please do a pen and ink addition there. And then under the consent calendar, after Chairman Kozlowski assumes management or chairmanship, we will pull the personnel meeting notes. They are not completed in their entirety, so we will not vote on those as part of the consent calendar. Other than those two modifications, any others, please?
I just want to pull the ambulance service agreement because there was a couple things that we didn't get up on that. We needed further discussion to get clarity on that.
And that's in the consent calendar.
Well, no, the agenda. There need, but since we're talking,
It was pulled off there. It was taken off.
I'm looking at the old one.
Right.
Okay, so that one's already been removed, Kim. Okay, thank you. So that's taken care of. And Steve, you had your hand up there. You're good to go? Got the right hat on this morning. I see that. Well done. Okay. Any other comments regarding the agenda as presented with modifications as described? Hearing none, I'll look for a motion to approve the modified agenda and support.
I'll make the
I
motion.
have a motion from Commissioner LaHaye, support, a support from Commissioner Ludlow. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Hearing none, the motion is carried. The agenda is adopted. On the agenda next is public comment. You'll have 3 minutes per person. If you would, please approach the podium and state your name. And if you wish to make any comment at this time. And just for your information, there is also public comment at the end of the meeting today as well. I see you got the time, please. Yep. Okay. Good morning, ma'am.
Morning, my name is Judy Stillion, I live on Piper Road in District 5. And I started working for the library in the 70s when we moved to Alpena, and I retired in 2008 as the director. But I basically made a decision by you, the board, without much thought, following a questionable quid pro quo with a local citizen, to trade removing offensive signs for firing the library board and what it will have. And what do we have? A first-class mess leading to the downfall of a library that has won many awards statewide for its exemplary staff, its programming and special collections that draw people to Alpena from all over the country. In addition to the many problems the situation has caused, the library is also now rudderless, without a leader. Additional funds will need to be spent to find somebody qualified to fill the post, in spite of the fact that the library, like the county, is short of funds due to their Headley rollback. I can't imagine in my wildest dreams that there are many qualified people who would even be remotely interested in moving to Alpena and jumping into the chaos that they would find here. Firing the entire library board or just one member only increases the dissension that already exists and is mean-spirited as well. How about taking a pause? Let the library find a director and then see if you can untangle this malicious web that you've created. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Anyone else for public comment here in the gallery today? Please, sir.
My name is Bob Case. I've been a resident in Alpena since 1984. And I've been a pastor in the Northeast Michigan for 50 years. And I have never seen a division like we have right now. I have 6 grandchildren in the school system. I have 4 that have graduated from Alpena Public High School. And they all use the Alpena Library as a major resource. The way we have divided our community. I keep hearing that pastors have come and spoke against books. I wish simply to say that being a pastor here for over 40 years, I can name at least a dozen who disagree with that. We don't all agree either as pastors or as theological individuals. I am really concerned at the way this has divided the community and has impacted my grandchildren and their use of the library. We talk about parental input. My daughter, who has 3 grandchildren in the age we're talking about, all said, would you please just leave it up to me as a parent? I look at the books that my kids see and I will determine whether they can be read or not. I don't want the county determining. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Any other input, public comment here in the gallery? Yes, ma'am.
My name is Diane O'Connor and I'm from Alpena. And 2 things I want to say. I was at the meeting where your board, this board, accepted what appeared to be an openly authored quid pro quo, could also be called a bribe, that if you did something, they would do something. I want to say I made a report to our state attorney general's office on your conduct. Because following that offer, that's what you did. You voted 6-1 to remove the Greater Library Board. I found that behavior shocking, dismaying. I can use all kinds of other adjectives. It's just unbelievable. So our state attorney general's office is aware of what's going on in Alpena. That has not come to a resolve yet. And the second thing I do want to say is that I found disturbing was prior to your vote, each one of you, with the exception of our brand new commissioner and Bill Peterson, who was not here for that vote, said very denigrating and dismaying remarks about the current library board members. What I would like to remind you and everybody here, you chose for those positions. I assumed based on their qualifications, follow the law and to do what is mandated. And each one of you took turns saying inappropriate comments about them, bearing in mind, not only did you choose them, they are volunteers. They are volunteers. Never in my life have I witnessed that. We encourage volunteerism. We applaud volunteerism, and you people denigrate them, including the person who voted to not remove them. I think you owe them an apology, honestly, and I think you owe this community an apology, not what we expect in elected officials. By the way, it is against the law to accept a bribe as an elected official. It is also against the law to offer a bribe to an elected official. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Any other comment from public comment here in the gallery today? Yes, sir.
I'm Bruce Maxwell from Asanique. Although your agenda item today has an evasive title of library update, it reportedly involves removing Joe Garber, president of the Library Board of Trustees, from his position. Joe has served on the library board for 20 years, volunteering countless hours to the thankless task of overseeing and shepherding our superb library. Now he and his colleagues are under attack. Members of this commission lied when they said the library board took no action in response to complaints about certain books from a small band of extremists. A member of this commission slandered Joe by saying he looked old and feeble. All in all, it's a disgraceful way to treat a dedicated public servant. Because the library board has voted to support the right to read, this commission has apparently decided it must remove Joe and his colleagues. The library board and staff have bent over backward to address the concerns of the extremists who have responded by intimidating and threatening them, including idiotically calling them groomers. From the beginning, this issue hasn't been about a few books. It's about a small band of right-wing extremists trying to impose their values on our community, much like the Taliban have done in Afghanistan. It's about their effort to gain power and control over the citizens of Alpena County. Their power play and this board's kowtowing to them come at an especially bad time for 3 reasons. First, because the library is currently seeking a new director. Who in their right mind would apply? Second, because Alpena County continues to struggle to attract new residents and good paying jobs. Who wants to move to or invest in a community where the library, one of Alpena's crown jewels, is under siege by political extremists and this body? Third, because you're asking county voters to approve a new millage in November. Your actions against the library will cost you votes, votes you can't afford to lose. I ask you to reconsider your decision to remove Joe and other members of the library board. I hope your decision was made in haste and without due consideration. Let me assure you that any actions you take against Joe and the library will have political consequences, whether in November or beyond. The community is watching your actions, which so far have brought shame on our community, this board, and the citizens you claim to represent. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Any other comments from the gallery, please, sir?
Morning and thank you. My name is Dan McNeil. I live in District 4, Bill's district. I was born and raised in Alpena, Michigan. I left here in January of 1973 and I was gone for 49 years. When I returned in 2020, the library was a shadow of what it is now. When I was a child growing up here, I learned rapidly what a jewel, as Bruce just said, this library is to this community and what it provides in terms of education, not only for children, but for adults and for the community at large. My understanding of the board and Joe Garber, for instance, who is, as Bruce said, and the chair of the board for 20 years, has been, the talents of the board has been incredible to grow the library and the enhancements it has made it's immeasurable. And again, I'm referring to Bruce because we're all obviously on the same page, as well as Diane. This board was taken hostage, frankly, by a right-wing radical group. And usually that's a term that we hear said about folks on the left. Unfortunately, it's the opposite here. And to remove a board that has functioned well, has grown the library, has grown the community over an issue about books, which the library, by the way, is taking care of. You know, they're undergoing a new task of relabeling and all of it. For you to, as Diane said, accept a quid pro quo, as Bruce Schultz came to the board and said, I was at that meeting. If you do this, I will do that, when the signs were all up about grooming. It's unacceptable. And I ask that you do reconsider, sorry about the phone, I have to mute it. You reconsider any notion of removing Joe Garber or any of the current library board. And I ask simply and plainly,
So you'll have to, please, your 3 minutes.
not fall for this and do not be taken hostage. And don't embarrass yourselves. And please, don't shame yourselves by taking this action. The
Thank you, sir.
community
Your
is
time is up, sir. Thank you.
against this.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Are there anyone who wishes to speak? Sir, please.
Gordon Silkworth, Alpena Township, Michigan. I'm one of the extreme right radicals that has concerns about the books that my children and grandchildren allowed to take out without my consent if they have a library card. And it's a small group of parents that kind of feel the same way. The first request to the library board was that they simply contain them behind the desk where only a parent could take them out for their kids, but they refuse that. They're on the shelves. You say they're redoing them, but they're still on the shelves. And I won't dispute that the library board's done a good job. It's just, if we had these, 15 books right here, and anybody could look at them to see if you think they're appropriate for kids, I think you'd find that they're not. Very graphic, very disgusting. That's what you folks on the commission saw the books and came to that same conclusion. So it's not about, it's just about the fact that the board voted, no, we're gonna keep them there. Well, yes, you gotta take stronger measures, but there's no right wing anything going on. It's just trying to, the moral decay of our children and our society because of it. So I applaud you for the actions you've taken.
Thank you, sir. Any other public comment here in the gallery? Kim, anyone on Zoom with their hand raised? Okay, at this point then, we will close public comment. Thank you for your participation. Next item on our agenda are to pay the bills. So you should have a copy of the bills that are scheduled to be paid. I'll look for a motion and support to pay the bills as presented.
I'll make the motion.
I have a motion from Commissioner LaHaye. Do I have support?
I'll support.
I have support from Commissioner Bray. Discussion of any of the bills to pay as presented. Hearing none, roll call, please.
Commissioner LaHaye,
Yes.
Commissioner Ludlow,
Yes.
Commissioner Bray. Yes. Commissioner Peterson,
Yes.
Commissioner Fournier,
Yes.
Commissioner Konashevsky,
Yes.
Commissioner Kozlowski,
Yes.
Commissioner Francisco.
Yes. Motion passes. We'll pay the bills. Next is our maintenance superintendent, Mr. Wilder. Les, please.
First thing I have, I guess today is, outstanding bill from last year. $21,700. $41.75.
That controlled solutions you're speaking?
It is.
Specifically? Okay.
An attempt was made at the end of last year to get this paid. There was some confusion. If you look at that invoice, that total project was $48,000. This invoice is for just a portion of that. There was another invoice that was for, if not the exact same amount, similar. And as I was collecting bills at the end of the year, I got an invoice number which had already been paid. So with Michelle in the clerk's office, Kim from Control Solutions, they went through the invoices, realized what happened, got us the invoice that had not been paid. And we just need now, I spoke with Kim Ludlow. Her suggestion was to move money from the 631 Building and Grounds Fund to the 402 equipment maintenance. I'm sorry.
No, you're right.
Yeah,
You got it.
but that would keep that 402 fund from dropping below the $1,000 minimum, $1,000 minimum. Policy.
The other issue is the first half of this project was paid out of the equipment fund. So it was paid out of the 402, 234, 980, 252. So we need to keep that total cost together, not pay half of it from one fund and half of it from another.
So this additional 21,741.75 will pay the bill in total. There won't be any, this is 100% then.
This is, there was actually a couple other ones that were smaller that we took care of, but this one was a major one.
Okay.
The smaller ones, I should say, actually got taken care of at the end of the year last year, but they were a little bit past due to take care of.
You do have the funds available in the Building and Grounds Fund, the 631s. I have a fund balance this morning of $280,790 with 76,402 already committed. So you have, 204,000 available in there. So there's definitely enough to transfer the 21,741 to the equipment fund to cover this bill.
Take that motion.
So I have a motion from Commissioner Peterson to approve the transfer of $21,750 from the Building and Grounds Fund number 631 into the Equipment and Replacement Fund 402, line item number 402-234-980.252 to pay the outstanding invoice number 18562 from Control Solutions in the amount of $21,741.75 as presented. Do I have support?
I'll support
I have support from Commissioner LaHaye. Any other discussion or questions for Mr. Wilder? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Commissioner Ludlow,
Yes.
Commissioner Bray,
Yes.
Commissioner Peterson,
Yes.
Commissioner Fournier,
Yes.
Commissioner Konashevsky,
Yes.
Commissioner Kozlowski,
Yes.
Commissioner LaHaye,
Yes.
Commissioner Francisco.
Yes.
Motion carried.
So next, we have a down payment for step repair, but I don't have a lot of detail, Wes. So
No, and we've attempted to get a second quote. I was told we could get one. They have not provided it yet, but they did tell me at the same time, that they would not be able to do the work this year, would have to wait till next year to do it. So I can continue trying to get.
we get a little more detail on specifically what step needs to be
It's
repaired
to repair the stairs going down to the boiler room
here in this building.
and porch going into the back of 911.
Okay.
And there's some block work to do on the front of that building over for Department of Corrections.
Any safety concerns that would require a more,
Yes, this needs to be done.
needs to be done as soon as possible, is what you're saying.
Weather's getting at that point, but if you could approve an up to amount, I would be willing to continue to look for a second quote.
What is, we don't even know what,
Yeah, I don't know.
what you're gonna quote, you said?
Oh, they did.
We do not have the details.
It's about 2,000, it's short of $2,000.
Would that come out of the?
Well, technically, to come out of the Building and Grounds Fund, it has to be a $5,000 cost.
Yes, there's money in the regular building maintenance line item to pay for this.
So you're looking for approval to transfer, just to be able to spend it
Up to
up to-
$2,000 to get this project complete.
okay, I don't have the line items, Kim, that,
So I'm getting there. It's 101 and it's 265.
yeah,
32,
There you go.
last three,
932.
okay. What I'm hearing is I'm looking for a motion to approve the expenditure of up to $2,000 for our maintenance superintendent to repair step on this building and the 911 central dispatch building. $2,000 to be taken from the building and maintenance fund 101-265-932.
I'll make that motion.
I have a motion from Commissioner Ludlow. Do I have support?
I'll support.
I have support from Commissioner Fournier. Any further discussion or questions for Wes? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Commissioner Bray?
Yes.
Commissioner Peterson?
Yes.
Commissioner Fournier?
Yes.
Commissioner Konashevsky?
Yes.
Commissioner Kozlowski?
Yes.
Commissioner LaHaye?
Yes.
Commissioner Ludlow?
Yes.
Commissioner Francisco?
Yes, motion is carried.
Thank you.
Sir, thank you. Next item on our agenda is our equalization director, Mr. Ted Summit, sir.
Morning, Commissioners. I'm here today to present the 2024 apportionment report for Phoenix County. CL 21137 requires the apportionment report to be presented to the County Board of Commissioners for approval no later than October 31st of each year. The Phoenix County Equalization Department has prepared this report and, if approved by the board, directs the spread of taxes in terms of millage to be levied. The report presents an analysis of tax levies in Alpena County as they relate to the county, townships, villages, cities, local school districts, state education tax, intermediate school district, community colleges, and authorities. This report does not direct the raising of any specific amount of money. Taxable value targets are those presented in April at the equalization hearing. Taxable valuations do not represent current taxable valuations after adjustments made due to changes ordered by the Board of Review, State Tax Commission, State Tax Tribunal, and others. Included is a resolution outlining the requirements of the board, and if approved, authorizes the chairman of the board to sign. The next 5 pages of the report list the millage rates for each unit along with the taxable values and revenues to be expected to be collected. And next, I provided you with tax rate request forms from each of the units, certified by each of the units. Then I just included a summary page of all of the millage rates that can be used as a guide along with a couple of charts. So if you have any questions, I'd be glad to answer them.
Okay, any other comments? That conclude your comments, then, sir? Okay, very well.
You have to have revolution.
I have the resolution. I'll read it into the record. At this point, I'll read the resolution that Mr. Summers referred to into the record. Is Pena County Board of Commissioners resolution approving the 2024 apportionment report pursuant to Michigan compiled laws 211.37, whereas Michigan compiled law 211.36 requires each township clerk to submit to the county clerk on or before September 30th each year a statement which sets forth the amount of money to be raised in the township by taxation. Whereas Michigan compiled law 211.37 requires the County Board of Commissioners to hold an apportionment session and approve an apportionment report in October of each year. Whereas at the annual apportionment session, the County Board of Commissioners must examine documents and records submitted to the board to show the amount of money to be raised by ad valorem levies in each township for schools, highway, drains, township operations, and all other purposes as authorized by law, and required the correction of any defects or omissions with regard to those levies. And whereas the action of the County Board of Commissioners concerning the spread of these levies is final, except in situations where a change is made to the equalization of the county through an equalization appeal to the Michigan Tax Tribunal or a levy passed at the November elections. And whereas the action of the County Board of Commissioners for 2024 will be the official authorization for 16 taxing authorities within the county to levy property taxes for 2024. And, excuse me, whereas the proposed apportionment report, if approved, will provide the final authorization for the levy of property taxes upon which taxing authorities depend to provide educational, health, economic development, public safety, and other services which are important to the well-being of the county's economy and Alpena County residents. And now therefore be it resolved that the attached 2024 apportionment report showing the millage levies apportioned to various taxing authorities in Alpena County for the year 2024 is hereby approved in accordance with Michigan compiled law 211.37. And be it further resolved that the Alpena County Board of Commissioners, under the authority of Michigan compiled law 211.37 directs that the millage rates specified in the attached 2024 apportionment report for township, school, highway, drain, and all other purposes as authorized by law shall be spread against the taxable value of properties on the proper assessment rolls of the townships and cities in the county. Be signed by John Kozlowski, Chairman of the Board on this date. So look for a motion and support.
Make a motion.
I have a motion from Chairman Kozlowski. Do I have support? Support. I support from Commissioner LaHaye. And I know it's not specifically money, but I would like to do a roll call vote on the tax apportionment.
Commissioner Peterson?
Yes.
Commissioner Fournier?
Yes.
Commissioner Konashevsky?
Yes.
Commissioner Kozlowski?
Yes.
Commissioner LaHaye?
Yes.
Commissioner Ludlow?
Yes.
Commissioner Bray?
Yes.
Commissioner Francisco?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Motion is carried. Thank you, Mr. Summers. And your excellent work, as always. Next on our agenda is our county treasurer report. Ms. Ludlow, please.
Good morning, everyone. So at the beginning of 2023, not this year, but at the beginning of 2023, we started with a fund balance of $449,718.59. At the beginning of this year, 2024, we started with a fund balance of $3,597,408.09. We have received through September 30th, $9,950,893.95, and had expenditures through September 30th of $9,476,498.32, leaving the fund balance of $4,071,803.72. Of that, $268,014 is restricted. So at a 75% of our budget, in a perfect world, it would be 75% in September. Right now, we've received 81.47% of our budgeted revenues, and we've spent 71.07% of our budgeted expenditures. Last year at this time, we had received 86% of our budgeted revenues, but we had also spent 72.76% of our budgeted expenditure. So if you quickly look at your comparison spreadsheet, you'll see that last year at this time, we were budgeted to spend $1.6 million more than what we were expected to bring in. Right now, we are budgeted to spend $1.1 million more, which is a $500,000 improvement. It is an improvement. You'll see that for the year to date, we have received $474,395.63 more than what we've spent. And we're 3/4 of the way through the year, and we're only $500,000 ahead. Last year at this time, we were $303,744.74 ahead. So actually, we've actually a little more forward by almost $175,000 that we haven't spent, that we've brought in. Any questions?
Are there any questions for Treasurer Ludlow on her report for 24 and the comparisons of 23? If not, I will look for a motion to receive and file the monthly treasurer's report for the month of September as presented.
Make that motion.
I have a motion from Commissioner Fournier. And I have support from Commissioner LaHaye.
Yes.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor to receive and file as presented indicate by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Hearing none, the motion is carried. The treasurer's report will be filed for the record. Thank you. Next, as the floor is still with our treasurer, the third quarter budget adjustments.
Okay, so you have those in front of you. And at the beginning, well, actually for your 23 budget, see, I need to change the date on here. For your 23 budget, you had actual revenue of $12,575,075, with actual expenditures of $13,479,628. You can see where we adopted on June 30th, revenue of $11,817,803 with expenditures of $13,248,878, which was a budgeted deficit of $1,431,075. My recommendation for our adjustments for 9/30 would bring our revenue to $12,357,581 and our expenditures to $13,358,620. So a budgeted deficit of just over $1 million. So it'd be $1 million, $1,039. Of those, the majority of the revenue that we're bringing in is you voted to take 100% of the net revenue from the delinquent tax revolving fund, which was an increase of $116,000 right there. We also received news that we were going to receive $75,000 from the landfill, which we had originally been told we weren't going to receive anything. So that is the majority of the difference that you're seeing. We've made up some revenue with some choices we've made. We also brought in another $106,000 from the jail levy fund to help offset the cost. So that is really all your differences that we've made up. Those funds may not be available next year, years to come.
Anything further? So, okay. So I'm looking for a motion and support to approve the third quarter budget adjustments for 2024 as presented.
So moved.
I have a motion from Commissioner Peterson to support. Support from Commissioner LaHaye. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Fournier,
Yes.
Commissioner Konashevsky,
Yes.
Commissioner Kozlowski,
Yes.
Commissioner LaHaye,
Yes.
Commissioner Ludlow,
Yes.
Commissioner Bray,
Yes.
Commissioner Peterson,
Yes.
Commissioner Francisco.
Yes.
Motion carried.
The next item on our agenda was the added discussion of our 2025 budget. And just for everyone's information, immediately at 1100, following this meeting, we will be having a budget committee meeting, again, to further discuss 2025 budgets. At this point, County Administrator Jesse Esmer. Jesse, I'm going to let you kick this off and with the discussion and then move from there.
So today we've been obviously working on, the commissioners have broken up into the work groups and came back with their recommended cuts. Those have been injected into the budget for review. Checking with the treasurer this morning before coming in, our current shortfall is sitting at $519,000. This is a reminder, the budget process began according to our workbook at $917,632. But things that weren't worked into that were items like the union negotiations and other things that obviously would be a little bit higher. With that being said, we have a couple of items that I'm still chasing after and trying to work out, which may decrease that $519,000 shortfall that we're facing. But those aren't sure things, and we can't obviously balance the budget on hopes and dreams. So as I continue to work on that, we've been asked obviously by the public and media what this shortfall, how we would fix this today if we were looking at it. And so during discussions, obviously with the chairman, so both Finance, Ways and Means and of the board, there were a couple of recommendations that they had made. Do you want me to go through those, Chairman, or do you want to?
What's that?
You want me to go through those proposed cuts or?
I can do, I'll take care of it. So again, we had made some proposed change, reductions to the amount of about $207,570 based upon those subcommittees. And our treasurer mentioned some of the additional adjustments for revenue that we've made up, including the revolving tax fund, landfill funds, et cetera. But we still feel we are, based upon our review of the budget, over $500,000 and over $500,000 short. So one of the additional cuts that we had discussed, again, not yet, they're proposed, have not yet been enacted upon is the $41,000 from to the MSU extension, correct? Okay, that's one. And based upon the availability, and of course, everyone's no secret, the fact that we've asked for the separate tax limitation, which will be voted on November 5th. We estimate that it's about $500 million, $500,000 that is being reviewed to look at from public safety, specifically the Alpena County Sheriff's Office, their budget. And again, we've been accused of this being a scare tactic. It's not meant to scare anyone. It's just meant to the fact that that's where we have money that if we have to make cuts, that is what our proposals are at this particular time, to be able to go into 25 meeting our financial requirements. We have done a number of things, and if you haven't had an opportunity, and Mr. Summers has done an excellent job showing what caused the county to be in this financial mess, and it isn't the last 2 years. It's been since actually 2009, and the effect of Proposal A and the Headley Amendment over time and taxable value changes, et cetera. But we're at the point in time, this board, the county's been able to function because we had money from commonly known as ARPA funds that we've been able to use to plug the gaps and continue to provide the services that we've done within the county. But that too is coming to an end. We have just about $800,000 left, I think we have to have obligated, not necessarily spent, but obligated or committed by the end of this calendar year and spent at the end of 26. But again, that opportunity to use that additional funding is coming to an end. But that's why we are where we are at. And we will have to make obviously some significant decisions here as we are coming towards the end of this month. So those are the kind of the lead-off comments. Any other discussion regarding what we've done and where we've been and where we are going here in the future? Now, if this alternate separate tax limitation amendment passes or millage passes, we should be able to continue our services that we've been able to provide, and we'll not have to cut that drastically as we've already looked at and discussed briefly to specifically to our sheriff's office.
I just have one, or maybe a comment. I know I spent countless hours, and this is probably the most in-depth, I think, that we have, at least as a board, looked at cuts for our spending. And we've dug as deep as we can go. And I know everyone says, Bill, you've said so many times before that, we can't cut any more paper clips and staples because those have already been cut. We're literally at the point where we're, and I've said before, and if that could work, I know we worked at trying to find additional revenue, and I've talked to probably each department head about ways to find additional revenue in their departments. But when it comes to like the clerk's office, when it comes to the register of deeds, there's not a whole lot of extra money. Treasurer, you can't really bring in extra money either. So we're literally at the bare bones. And unfortunately, and I don't want to be the one to do that, but if we have to cut these particular departments or things that we've been paying for, it's where we're at. And I don't want to be that one to do that, but, we've heard so many times that we've mismanaged the funds of the county, and I would be more than happy, and I've actually sat down with one person. I love when people on social media say that, we're mismanaging stuff, and I put out there that come talk to me because I'd be more than willing to talk to you. I'll sit down any day of the week and show you what we have for a budget. Talk to you about it. And I've had one person that actually has done that, which I applaud that person for doing that. But we're literally at the point where there's no place else to cut, and next place to cut is services. So we're down to the bare bones, and it's unfortunate that we're here, but you know, as Commissioner Francisco said, I've had a number of conversations with Ted, our equalization office director. And you can see that downhill trend that kind of put us in the position that we're in. And there's nothing, once you lose that revenue, we can't recoup that revenue later on because of, you know, Headley is part of the problem. So just in, one of the other things that I've heard is this isn't a Headley override. This tax, it's a, what is it called? The new tax limitation.
New limited
Yeah.
tax.
And this is, what we're looking for is 4 years, which would hopefully get us to a point where we're back on level ground. And if Headley does happen within the next 4 years, we'll still get a Headley rollback. So that's the other thing that I've heard, that, you know, this is going to override Headley. This is not going to override Headley. This is just a tax limitation for 4 years. So it is what it is. We're at that point, and, you know, it's unfortunate that we have to be here, but these are the hard decisions that we're going to have to be making. So, and I will attest to the fact that I think every one of the commissioners is willing to do that right now.
Sure. Any other comments from our other board members that you wish to? I mean, there's no vote or anything like that. This is just a discussion and to bring transparency in our discussion so that the public knows what, you know, we've been talking about, what we continue to wrestle with every day. Trying to run the county on, and if I may, just a couple more points. One, we looked at the number of our staff throughout the county, and I think most departments are down anywhere from 30 to 40% over about the last 10 years from where they were with people. The offices across the street in the courthouse area, at least 25% in each and every one of those offices. Mr. Wilder runs with maintenance, and I think you're down 3 people of what I would call your authorized strength, using a military vernacular. So, and we've not backfilled those positions. We've instituted a hiring freeze, and you're doing what you can with what you got. And that's unfortunately what we have to do. And we're trying to prepare and try to minimize the impact of what may happen. I'm certainly a backer of public safety. You know, I spent a lot of my undergraduate is in that area. I was an MP in the Army as well. I support law enforcement, but it comes with a price, unfortunately. To have the services that we would like to provide, it costs a certain amount of money. And the revenue is either there or it's not. So again, not a scare tactic. It's just basic economics. So with that, I'm going to have to go back to the paper copy here. Any other discussion on our 2025 budget that we wish to do now, or obviously we'll be following on with the budget committee at 11 o'clock following this. If not, that concludes all of the items on the agenda for the finance portion of the meeting. I'll look for a motion to rise and report to close this part of the meeting, and then and Chairman Kozlowski can open up the Ways and Means. I have a motion from Commissioner Lahey, support. I support from Commissioner Bray. Any discussion? If not, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Hearing none, the motion is carried. Finance is closed. Sir, floor is yours.
Okay. Looks like we have first on the agenda, Long Lake Park discussion with Daniel Gapsky.
Chairman, just to let you know, so Mr. Gapsky had gone through the Parks and Rec Committee requesting something. They denied it, so this will be his appeal. He's been allotted 5 minutes to address the board.
Okay.
Morning.
Morning.
I asked to be part of this meeting because I had my second season out at Long Lake Park. There's 5 months in the season. I had 5 weeks taken away from me because I wasn't able to get a trade for the lot. That went from 1,300 to 3,000. I finally did get offered, a manager gave me a host spot. I wasn't able to plug in until June 14th. It took me a lot of work to get the lot where I could actually unconnect my camper from truck, the slope. And what I asked for is that I not pay for the whole season if I was already short in 5 weeks of the season. And the board shut it down. And Ludlow came back and said 8 to 10 people said no. They would like me to pay for something that was taken away from me. I didn't think it was fair, and that's why I asked to be ask you folks to weigh in on it.
So you got a seasonal lot?
Yeah, my second season, yeah.
Sorry, I'm kind of ignorant to the situation. So you weren't able to move in until June?
Yeah, June 14th. May 28th, I got a call from the current manager saying my lot was ready. But it wasn't a lot that I was told I could be on. And June 14th, since I wasn't able to disconnect my truck, or my camper, I went to the next lot, which I was told I could go on, lot 17. And I plugged in on 14th of June.
Were there other lots available to you?
There was a lot of lots that were available, they just weren't offered to me. And I think that reason is that I walk a lot of the park and I see a lot of things, and I explained some things that I thought were completely wrong with the park that was going on at the park. And I think what happened was there was targeting retaliation. Because I was told many times by 2 people on the point that they would give me a trade, and they never did. I was just forced onto a lot. And that's never happened out there before. I mean, this is a county park, and camping's supposed to be fun.
You think before, have you camped out there in years?
Yeah. Last year I was on site 92, but they put power and water out there, and it's supposed to be a lottery lot. So you'd have to move around, or you might not get the same lot. So I didn't want that. So I asked for a trade, and the current manager, Sarah, said no problem, but she got hurt, and then it kind of downslide to where we're at today, which is no one really helping me.
So I know we have Kevin here, who's the chair of the parks, and I know he's been pretty involved with the whole situation. So I don't know if you have I know you have additional information to add.
Sure. So, his original reservation was November 26th of 2023, was done by Sarah, who was the current manager. Confirmation was sent for that site, which was site 92, on April 25th. No response from him on that. May 1st, the site was changed from 92 to 97. And for whatever reason, he decided he didn't like 97. And so we sent him a confirmation for that and so forth. He canceled that reservation. We moved him to site 16, which was an agreement with Aaron, the new interim manager of the location. Confirmation was sent for that, check-in was sent. Then he decided to move from 16 to 17 all by himself, which is a violation of the parks ordinance, by the way. The invoice was sent, well, excuse me. Then on the, so yes, then he made an agreement with him to leave him on 17. I think Dan was involved in that. And what's happened since then is that he owes us for the remainder of the season, which is down to what, like a week. He owes us, I believe, $355 the last time I looked. Again, the violation of the parks ordinance, you're not supposed to camp on our sites without paying your bill. He hasn't paid his bill. He's asked for a new reservation in 2025 on site 19, which has also been put into the system. But he hasn't made a deposit on that one either. So he's got 2 sites now that he wants to get from the county, and he's refusing to pay, both of which are, I don't know about next year, but this year he's refusing to pay, as he's been asked multiple times, invoices have been sent to him. And so the Parks Commission decided that we didn't want to give him a discount. Parks Commission said we weren't going to deal with this, not paying his bill. That's what he's trying to do, is take the bill that doesn't pay and use that as his discount. And so we decided that no, he won't get a site for 2025 unless he pays his bill from 2024. So his 19 site is pending right now. He doesn't actually have the site. And so the recommendation is that you support the County Parks Commission board and their actions to deny Mr. Gatsky a discount and to tell him to pay the bill
or administrative actions can happen. It's a misdemeanor for failing to pay your bill. It's a misdemeanor for moving from lot A to lot B without asking the park, which you did do. And so I'm referring to the prosecutor for prosecution, or we can get him to pay his bill, we can ban him from the park. Multiple choices, I guess, if he's gonna come here and circumvent the authority of the Parks and Recreation Committee, this board should send him a message to come to us and not skip over us because he's not happy with our decision. Back us up, support us in our decision-making process, tell him to pay his bill.
May I respond to that? His dates are wrong. Kevin, we had a special meeting out at Long Lake Park. Mr. Ludlow was there. We caught Kevin in a bullface lie. He said that because all this would have been resolved, he's talking about this bill. In January, when I was told by Kurt said he never had nothing to do, he doesn't have anything to do with park daily functions. I talked to Kevin many, many times. He said, I'm looking for a trade. He just told you that he had placed me on 97, but I didn't want it. He should have told me that in January. We could have resolved all this. There were lots of lots that were available. They were just not offered to me. That's dereliction of duty. He's saying that I don't want to pay the bill. I'll pay him in full right now for next year. That's not what it's about. It's about all the things that are going on at the park that are not truly stated correctly. A host was on site 80.
Well, we're here to discuss the bill.
All right, yeah, but what it is though, is he just told some incorrect statements. It's not, has anything, lot 16, that he's incorrect. Aaron, an acting manager, said I could go on the host lot, which was 17.
I think,
I spoke to Aaron. Aaron said I didn't tell him to do 17. I told him to do 16.
That's hearsay. That's not what happened.
well, either way,
It's a
so
direct conversation with the manager at the time.
we're not gonna sit and have an argument over this.
Right.
Bottom line is you owe $357
No, 335, correct.
35. For the remainder of this year, we're approaching 1 week left for camping. I think what you had mentioned that the board had approved a discount for next year.
Credit for 30 days. Yes, I will take that. But I mean, I just wanted to come here to let the board know though, there's things going on at the park that are still wrong.
Well,
That are still wrong. And they're talking about constitutional laws and this and that. Removing trees from the park is not part of the commission. No one knows where that money is. No one has an idea how much. That's county asset property. The county owns Long Lake Park, not a couple individuals. The county owns it. And when they're not acting in the county's best interest, that should be reviewed and investigated.
So we're going to talk about the issue at hand, and the issue at hand is the $335 that you owe. So I believe the park has already made a decision, and Bill's part of Parks, or has been part of Parks, Dan, now Lucille. So I've been part of Parks, so I believe that what we've discussed, I personally feel that we will stand behind what the Parks has said. If you owe the $335, you need to pay that for this year and you get the credit for next year, and we'll work with that.
So I am going to be credited 1 month for next year.
I believe that's what the Parks, correct?
And I do not have a problem with that.
Okay.
Yeah, but I brought my checkbook right now. It was never about the money. It's just about how I was treated. I love that park. Been out there since I was a baby.
And I know, and I don't know what most of the commissioners know, I know we've had a lot of issues with Long Lake Park this year. We don't need to get into all that, but bottom line is we have had a lot of transition through the parks. We're trying to work through at least that one particular park and then move forward from there. So
Also, for that move to 19, I want the commissioners to know that I worked very hard and I made that lot respectable. It's no longer Moss.
19?
17. It was, I had to use a power jack to get my RV off my truck. We got lakeshore material and I used my labor, my money for the grass seed, my money for the straw, and I made it a decent lot for whoever's gonna be there next. And that's just one portion of what needs to be done out there.
Okay, so I guess we don't need a motion on anything because you've just.
I'll pay the 335 and next year on lot 19, once I pay my deposit, I get 1 month off of next year. I'll accept that. Thank you, everybody. Good day. Thank you.
Okay, next item is. Jesse Ivan.
So a couple of things. I guess I want to give a brief timeline because there's been a lot of questions about exactly how this process played out. Obviously, we have, Commissioner Bray, who's joined us too. So I thought I'd start with that. So on May 28th of this year, during a full board meeting, constituents attended our meeting. Where during public comment portion, they expressed concern over placement of certain books at the county library.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Sorry. At that meeting, Commissioner Francisco recommended the matter be taken up at the next facilities meeting, and the board agreed. On May 31st, then, there was a meeting in non-quorum of the county commissioners for a news interview at which I was also present. I was asked by members of the board to investigate the possibility of whether members appointed to the library board could be removed. I did reach out to legal counsel that same day, and they did provide me with legal statute saying that indeed the board could be removed. On June 19th, during the facilities meeting, the president of the library board of trustees, Joe Garber, was present, as well as 3 additional trustees and library staff, including the director. Also present at that meeting were constituents who expressed both support and opposition to the issue. Mr. Garber told the board that his board understood the collections development policy needed to be brought up to date, that they were working to do so. He expressed that there were many points of views and the board was open to hearing all sides. On June 25th, during a full board meeting, we had again constituents rising in both support and opposition of the library issue during the public comment portion of our meeting. July 9th, Finance Ways and Means Committee meeting. Chairman Kozlowski announced that there would be an informational presentation to the full board at a later date. However, shortly after that, the library director, Ms. Greenacre, submitted her resignation, announcing her last days later that month, and subsequently that meeting was never rescheduled and thus did not occur. July 23rd, during a full board meeting, Commissioner Konashevsky moved that the process begin to remove the entire library board. Special note, again, as cited on May 31st, they were already asking for the way in which that could be done legally. So that did not occur because of comments made by Mr. Schultz. It was already something in the process. I'm sure he read it in the paper and played off of it. Moving forward, on July 23rd, they did again give me that MCL that was provided to the board. As outlined, with all of that being said, since charges must be brought against each individual according to statute, it would not have been possible to remove the whole board as a whole without specifically specifying the charges as they relate to each appointee. Additionally, I learned through conversations with members that although their frustration was initially ignited because of the controversial books, it later became evident that it was actually the library board's handling of both constituents and the situation as a whole that brought about most of their frustration. So with that being said, I would put forth 2 options for the board to consider. The first is they can consider the removal of 1 trustee. Usually you would remove the president if you're upset with the handling of how that body functions. A letter would have to be outlined specifying the charges against him. That letter would then be delivered. He would then have time to come before this committee and answer those charges, and then the committee would vote. The second option, and just so the committee knows, I should also back up a little bit. On September 30th, we did receive a resignation letter by trustee Michelle Cornish that was accepted on October 1st by the Personnel Committee. So the second option would be that this board do nothing. They take no action. We have 2 months rather, before interviews would begin. And you would be able to place both Michelle Cornish and fill that vacancy, as well as Lauren Mandlow, whose term expires December 31st, 2024. She saw a partial term to complete Mark Hunter's term. Those would be the 2 options I would recommend to the board for consideration. Leave it to you for discussion.
Okay. So he's outlined, hopefully gives everybody the information that they need. He's also pointed out 2 options that we have. And I will say, one of my concerns going into this was just legal ramifications that could come from the removal. So with that, I'd look to see if, what is everybody's thoughts on the discussion?
We have to fill 2 seats now?
Well, one by the person that resigned. And 2, the second one would be the term is expired. So two seats, 1 seat is vacant right now, and I guess the other one would be vacant or need to be filled come 1st of January.
Through the normal rotation process.
And
Well,
if you'd like, I could also let you know that that process is they would submit applications that would go before the Personnel Committee, and then they would put forth recommendation to the full board approval.
well, as someone that's late to the game, I missed out on a lot, though I was around when it started. And I am not comfortable with removing volunteer board members as a volunteer board member. Though I look at the whole situation is not black and white. I know a lot of people think it's black and white, but it's gray. And so there's a lot of options. My preference is not to remove volunteer board members unless there's some sort of action that they took that was required.
Okay. Any other discussion from any of the members?
I wasn't here. I had a medical procedure that day, one that was voted on. And my thoughts after this all started, I think we should have sort of backed off a little bit and met with that library board as a board of commissioners and tried to get this all taken care of before it got to the way it's been blown out of proportion. I mean, there's feelings both ways, and I think when people sit down, talk things out, they can come to a mutual understanding with how the situation could have been handled. And with the seal on this, I think we should wait till the two new positions are filled and go from there.
Any other discussion?
Just, I've attended one library board meeting. It was back in, it was the May or June timeframe. It was well attended by both pro and con. And I will say that Mr. Garber, he has 20 years of experience in doing that. But in my opinion, from my perspective, those that spoke out in support of having some type of parental discretion, if you will, review and not just children being able to do that. Whenever they spoke out, they were not treated very well. And as a board president, it's his obligation to control that. And it appeared to me that he would let that type of somewhat aggressive anti-response to those who were making those things. So will I say he was derelict in his duties? No, that's too strong a comment. But he did seem to allow behavior that supported what he felt was the best way to go on and to be carried on against those who wanted to speak, contrary to maybe the majority opinion there. So that is a concern.
Okay. Any other discussion by any of the board members?
The reason I made the motion I did, when I did, was because of the lack of action on that board. And I do agree with Bert, with Joe being the chairman of the board, he should have made sure some actions were taken. I do feel the same as Bert. But I also don't want to have to replace everybody all at once. There is already a lot of turmoil situations going on there. I think that maybe it wouldn't be a bad idea to replace the two seats that we're going to have to replace anyway and see how things go moving forward.
Okay.
If you even have anybody apply.
Sure.
So I guess then to move forward, then we would probably need some sort of motion that, because we've already made a motion initially.
So shall I amend my motion or make a new one?
Either one, if the new one counteracts the old.
Rescind it.
Or you can just amend the one that you previously made.
And could it rescind it?
Or you could rescind it. And then just let it play out. If the intent is to just move forward with replacing the board members, you could just rescind the motion.
I can't hear, I'm sorry.
Sorry, he's asking whether he should amend or rescind, so.
So I will amend the motion that I made.
Amended?
Yes.
Okay.
I will amend the motion that I made. I don't think that's the right,
Just make a new motion, Travis.
Yeah,
Was appropriate.
I'll make a new motion that we
move forward with replacing the two seats that are going to be open and leave Joe Garber in place and see how things go from here.
Can I make one more comment? I'm sorry. Can I not interrupt? I'm sorry.
Once he makes the motion and you get a second.
So you're going to rescind your old
No, he's
motion?
Making a new
You're
motion.
making a new one. I'll second that.
Okay, so now we have a motion in support. Now we can have discussion on the motion.
Have we considered maybe moving forward with the library board, have a commissioner that would facilitate or mediate, or is that done? I don't know.
I don't know.
We don't have a liaison on that.
No, I checked there was.
It's like any of the other committees that we appoint people to. We have people that we appoint, just the road commission. I know Bill attends the road commission, or was that you?
Both Bill and I do.
Okay. But we don't.
Don't vote on anything. We just.
Well, yeah,
We observe what's going on. And you're more than welcome to attend if you.
right,
like.
right.
But
But I was surprised that when I first started attending the meetings in June was the very first community outpouring, which resembled a year and a half when it first started. And I was shocked to see that it had come this far. So at that time, there was talk about the board contacting the commissioners to have a meeting, and I never saw anything until I happened to stumble upon the June meeting. And I was very shocked that I thought, okay, we're getting somewhere, but unfortunately we did not. And so I was kind of confused. I thought maybe it could have used some mediation, union talk.
Well, I think as we move forward, if we have two individuals that get replaced or apply for the position, I think maybe we move forward in the beginning of the year and meet more regularly with the board and go over some of the issues.
Or have them provide a report. It seems like you have some committees and boards that provide reports.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, we can work that out.
Okay.
So I guess we have a motion. Any other discussion?
The point was made that right now we have an interim director appointed, so the board is in the process of advertising.
New interim director.
And thank you, yep. As I was, a new interim director after the previous one stepped back to become the assistant. So we have that position vacant, temporarily filled until a permanent director can be found. We have one board of the 5 positions that's currently vacant based upon recent resignation, and we have a second of the 5 that the term is expiring at the end of this calendar year and will begin next year, correct?
Correct.
Okay. A lot of moving parts.
Yeah.
So I have no issue at all with suspending, if you will, the process that was first voted on and supporting this motion, that we just have an opportunity to do those next 2 steps. Yeah, to fill the vacancies and that are either there or pending the rest of this calendar year.
Okay. All right. So any other discussion with that? And I guess I would like a roll call on this one.
Commissioner LaHaye,
Yes.
Commissioner Ludlow,
Yes.
Commissioner Bray,
Yes.
Commissioner Peterson.
Yes.
Commissioner Fournier, Yes. Commissioner Francisco,
Yes.
Commissioner Konashevsky,
Yes.
Commissioner Kozlowski.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Okay. Next up is the consent calendar. We did pull the personnel minutes, correct? So were there any other items on the consent calendar that anybody had questions on or would like to pull? If not, I'd look for a motion to approve the consent calendar.
I'll make that motion.
We have a motion by Commissioner Fournier, support by Commissioner Ludlow. Any discussion on the consent calendar? If not, roll call, please.
Commissioner Ludlow,
Yes.
Commissioner Bray,
Yes.
Commissioner Peterson.
Yes.
Commissioner Fournier,
Yes.
Commissioner Francisco,
Yes.
Commissioner Konashevsky,
Yes.
Commissioner LaHaye,
Yes.
Commissioner Kozlowski.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Next item was informational, but I'm not sure, did we get all individuals to vote on that? Jesse?
I think you need Commissioners LaHaye and Konachevsky still.
So should we?
You could pull them now. Yeah. So you could probably just do a confirmation vote and add the 2 additional votes at that time.
So I guess, who was it? Commissioner LaHaye and Commissioner Konachevsky.
I'll vote yes on that.
Yes on the poll vote, poll action, and Travis?
I'll vote yes as well, but I do have a question.
Okay.
Is that okay now or
Yeah.
later?
Let's have the discussion.
Hey, Eric, the add-ons that are required to go along with that boat, do you have those in your budget already?
I think we were gonna pay for them out of our next year's budget, but JP, Sergeant Ritter, I think he got it approved for next year's Stone Garden. That would be a grant also for the add-ons of $1,000.
Okay. And that won't have to be paid until next year anyway, correct?
I'm not sure,
I believe it said the boat wouldn't be arriving until next year anyway.
yeah, the vote wouldn't be, it would be.
Okay.
So you'd actually be putting this in your 25 budget, not your 24 budget.
Well, in the poll, it stated that it had to be paid for this year, I believe, right?
Yeah.
So it would have to go in the 24 budget.
So if it's not, we're gonna pay for it when we order it? Question mark? Yeah, I just,
So I know.
I seen the poll, no one reached out to me for any kind of numbers, so I was doing some backtracking. So in the 2023 budget, Stone Garden budget, there was $78,000 budgeted from that grant for a boat. And it would never happen, it was never spent, so it was reduced. There is nothing in this year's budget for that grant money for a boat at all. So if this is passed, you will be increasing your revenue or your expense by the $57,895 plus the add-ons if it's got to be paid for upfront. Now, that being said, this is a grant. Stone Garden is a grant, but it is a reimbursement grant. So if you spend it, I mean, to get reimbursed, you have to spend it. Realistically, if you pay for the boat this year, you're not going to see that reimbursement until next year.
So we'll get
I
that
think we
one.
should budget it for next year. I don't think we should spend $57,000 on a boat and have it taken away.
Well, and especially with winter coming, I don't think we're gonna get much use out of it this winter.
You don't pay for the time, for the year later.
Yeah, so I guess that was my confusion when you're talking about this year's budget, when I know.
So will the grant carry forward if it's not done in this calendar year?
To be honest with you, with the news I heard, I really don't care about the boat, to be honest with you. I won't have people put on it, but, it's free from the federal government, so if we get more equipment, that's great, but we can budget it for next year. Let's go ahead.
So we'll, I guess, then amend this poll action to move it for, or do you want to just hold off for now?
I think you just get into next year's budget.
Okay, so we'll put this in for next year's budget. Okay, so we've actually then had everyone vote on this. We don't need to do any other action because we've already voted on this.
So basically, you're saying it's been approved through the poll.
Yeah.
To buy it. But then when you look at your budgeting process, you're just going to put it into your 25 budget in Stone Garden.
Correct. Because that way there, when we get into 2025, you can move forward, we could do it and have reimbursement come in 2025.
Hopefully.
Yeah. Okay. So since there's no other action on that, we'll conclude with our final public comment. Anybody with public comment?
Bob Case again, and I want to start by saying I'm glad I don't have your job. I know how difficult budgeting is. And I just have one question, is the HARP money, the 800,000, is it
The
roughly?
ARPA money, yes.
Yeah, we knew that was terminal. We knew that it was going to end. I think it would have been helpful for us as a community if, knowing that it was going to end, you started preparing us for replacing that money back when you knew it was going to end, rather than waiting for it to end and then saying, we need more money. I think an educational process for the community would be very helpful. And is this millage, is it 4 years?
Correct.
I hope you will be telling the community when the 4 years up, are we just simply going to renew it? Or are there going to be other plans? And let us know as it goes along, how the budget is being put together. I think the thing I am concerned about is long-term planning and budgeting, where you're thinking 4 or 5 years ahead. And I think when that HARP money came, that's great. And I'm sure you spend it wisely. I have no problems with that. But it would have been nice if back then, knowing that it was going to run out, you had started preparing us as a community of how you were going to replace that and why it was needed replacing, rather than all of a sudden saying, we don't have this money, now we need a tax increase. I just think it would be better for you, and the chances of it passing would be better. Also, last night I heard, I like the idea of color coding, so we know what is mandatory and cannot be changed. I think that would be, that was something I heard yesterday at the hearing. So I'm just concerned that we're thinking ahead. And it would have been better with the 800,000 if you had come up a year ago and said, this is what we're going to help us get it together. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Eric Smith, Sheriff. I'm very disappointed, obviously, of the news today. That we're gonna suffer in our community, public safety. To be honest with you, we keep talking about ARPA, essential workers. It brings a whole new term to essential workers. When the sheriff's department's gonna take the blunt of this cut. Quite honestly, I was raised, if I can't say anything nice, don't say anything at all. So this is probably the time I'm just gonna walk away from the podium. I do respect you guys, but I think it's a grave mistake.
Thank you. Anybody else? Anyone on Zoom? Okay, if no other, we'll close public comment, and I'll look if there's any other discussion. If not, I would look
I'd
for,
like to say something to Sheriff.
okay,
I know how the sheriff feels. I feel the same way. And it's a shame that it comes down to our public safety for the people. I wish there was something that we could do other than take away from basically the people that get protected by the sheriff's department. Our only other alternative, I think, would be to lay off our workers. So there you go. What do you do? So I know I'm not asking for anybody to vote for that millage. That's all up to you. I have to vote on it myself as a homeowner. But I want you to know that we're not giving you any bullshit. We said it how it is. We're not trying to scare you. It is not a scare tactic. We're coming right down to the truth. And I was saying for years, we can't kick the can down the road. And that's what happened. Every year we had budget. Every year I'd bring something up to cut. No. It kept getting kicked down the road. So here we are. There's no more kicking. We're done. And it's a shame that we have to pick on the sheriff's department. It's a dirty shame. And I'd like to thank the sheriff for all he's done for this community. He's outstanding. And I know exactly how he feels because I feel.
Okay. With that, I'd look for a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
So we have Commissioner LaHaye make a motion. Support by anyone? Support by Commissioner Fournier. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. We're adjourned.